All right, so my name is Justin Taylor. Welcome to Writing Supplemental Essays That Wow and the rest of the application. We're going to dive into some really dense content on how to cut down your writing time for your essay, for your supplemental essays, I mean, and what are some strategies you can do to really up the quality of what you're writing. So first thing, the YS essay, what is that? What makes a great one? Most schools ask for this essay. We're going to unpack what you need to do to make one that you can reuse and also communicate directly with the school what you do that matches what they're offering. We're going to look at some strong examples of YS essays, and again, how to create one that you can recycle and personalize for each school. We're also going to look at this section called the additional information section. This is a section with space for you to share whatever you would like. And there are some very specific things I recommend you do with this. This is not a space to do anything and everything, but something very, very specific that can really, really up your chances with certain schools. So stay tuned to the end for that secret. And then, of course, your questions. So if you do have them, put them in the Q&A feature in the Zoom. We'll definitely get into them at the end. And do take notes. We're going to go through a lot of stuff. I'm going to kind of go a little bit quickly. So if you need to get this stuff again, you can always watch the recording later. All right, so there are many, many prompts that are actually asking for a YS essay. What about being a student at X university most excites you? By the way, these are all from applications, literal applications that I have helped students with. Why did you apply to each of the academic programs listed on your application? Submit a statement of purpose that communicates your plans and goals. How might you engage specific resources, opportunities, and communities here at the school? Share something you'd like the admissions committee to know about you, interest, background, community, identity, and how it shaped what you want to get out of your college experience at X school. Describe your academic and career plans, any special interests that you are eager to pursue as an undergraduate. So again, many prompts all asking one question. So what makes a great YS essay? I want to kind of cut straight to the content you're looking for and not dilly-dally. First is, what specifics do you bring that match with the school? Essentially, specifics about why you belong at the school you're applying to. Connections between what the school is offering and your resume. So a strong YS essay makes these connections over and over and over and over. You articulate questions in the YS essay that you want to bring to the school, academic questions that you want the courses and research opportunities and clubs at the school you're applying to answer. So what the school has answers your academic questions. And then a unique educational path. No two students are exactly the same, and you want to be able to articulate how your educational path is really unique to you, and you are prepared for it. There's clear evidence in your resume that you're already on this unique path. The tone of a YS essay is not creative, it's not narrative. It's more like writing a cover letter or response in a job interview. And so what I'm about to share with you might seem a little dry, a little formulaic, because it kind of is. But before I get into breaking it down, let's read a good one. So this is from a student who applied successfully to Boston University. And this is what she does. A good education is like a good playlist, a rich and eclectic journey through my interconnected core passions. At BU, I will dig into mathematics and mathematics education like I dig into my favorite R&B beats, broadly and deeply. In problem-solving mathematics, I'll build on my work with linear programming and ask, what strategies have I yet to explore? Similar to how a rapper or a singer can express the same truth in history of mathematics, I can't wait to learn what mathematicians through history have reached similar conclusions despite different approaches. As a peer tutor, I adjust my teaching to each classmate, varying my questions and examples. Dr. Greg Benoit's creative approaches to mathematical solutions, gamification, and student-centered engagement inspire me to consider an independent study with him and ask, how can teachers relay mathematics to better reach an aha moment with students? In my indie funk playlist of female queer artists, I feel empowered, like when I stumbled upon BU's Vagmo Plus table at my tour. I saw myself at Vagmo Plus sharing what it really is to be a woman and even doing a vagina monologue on campus. I also love expanding my musical taste, like Brazilian Favela Funk, in the same way that the BU Hub expands educational taste. In Portuguese for Spanish Speakers 1, I look forward to learning how the two languages correlate linguistically and culturally. I can't wait to make this playlist of courses a reality at BU. So a short YS essay, it's under 250 words. They do vary in length, I should have said. Some are as short as 150, some are as long as 650, like at Cornell. This BU kind of runs down the middle. Let's break this one down. Why does this one work so well? What is successful about it? So, like I mentioned, she's connecting what the school offers directly to her resume and to the questions, the academic questions that she wants to answer. So, for example, she mentions the course Problem Solving in Mathematics. She wants to take this course to build on her work with linear programming that she's already doing. And it will help her answer the question, what strategies have I yet to explore? She also mentions doing an independent study with a professor, Professor Benoit, on creative techniques, which will build on her tutoring experience with low-income minority communities. So she brings to this opportunity the question, how can teachers relay mathematics to better reach an aha moment with students? So again, she names the school offering, she connects it to something in her resume or transcript. Most important, I would say for a YS essay, you want to talk about resume elements, extracurriculars, internships, research, things like this, not courses. Although sometimes you might have a special project within a course that you want to bring up, that would also be good in this space. We'll get into the details on how to do this yourself in just a moment. And then of course, she brings in this question that she wants this independent study, this hypothetical independent study to answer. She identifies what she's going to be doing beyond academics. Schools really want to see that you will become a citizen of their community. So they want to see what you're going to do beyond courses in a YS essay, if there's room. If it's really, really short, like 150 words, 200 words, maybe talking about campus life is not the biggest priority, but just getting in the academic stuff is all you got. That's okay. But unless when you have more room, like you do at the BU, you definitely want to put in a paragraph about what you're going to do beyond your core academic interest. She's really into the feminist club and to learning languages. So she made sure to talk about those two things. The other thing she does, I find really cool. This is not necessary for everybody here. This is a little extra bonus. She uses a metaphor to communicate her approach to learning, building a playlist. And this gives a little bit of her unique educational journey and unique point of view. She talks a lot about expanding herself and building up her skills as a math educator, but then also becoming more of a well-rounded person exploring other interests, the way you might explore music on Spotify. So how can we start our own YS super essay? The first thing you want to do is you want to start with one school. So this is how you make the super essay. You start with one school. Let's say you started with a BU or a U Michigan. And you look at the course catalog on the website for courses that are in your major area, in your area of study that you're going to pursue. And you want these courses to contrast each other. You don't want to pick from the same exact course type. So here are some examples. A business student might get a history course on capitalism, a leadership course, maybe one on horizontal leadership, and then one on investing. So there's a history course, a leadership course, and then a kind of nuts and bolts finance course in investing, maybe impact investing. How about a neuroscience student who's also interested in women's health? So this student might look at a course around the brain and human development, but they also have an interest in women's health. So they're going to bring in a course on domestic abuse, treatment and prevention, and something a little more outside of the hard sciences. They're looking at ethics in the medical setting. So something from the humanities. Notice that they're all within the course, the area of study that the student really wants, but they're not exactly all in the same column. You know, you have some hard science, humanities, and then the women's health stuff. And then, of course, there's wonderful math students whose example we looked at, the history of math class, creative problem solving, and then Portuguese. Totally nothing to do with math, but shows that they're expanding who they are, expanding what they, expanding their interests. So the next thing you want to do when you're building your YS super essay is you want to identify special research opportunities in your area of interest. So this could be a fellowship that the department that you're interested in offers. It could be an internship that they might set up with you outside of the school. It could be an abroad experience and a broad program or a broad research opportunity. It could be an independent study that you would do, like the math student wanted to do with Professor Benoit that she proposed. It could be a capstone project that at the end of your undergraduate studies that you see the school looks for students to do a capstone project in your department that you're looking at, and you could throw together an idea for that in this section. Whatever you're putting down in the YS essay, by the way, is not a commitment to anything. It's just showing the school that you're thinking it through, among other things. So a business student might look at a fellowship in a foreign emerging market. A neuroscience student could look at links between MS and language learning. That might be something they're interested in when they're looking at rare neurological diseases. So this math student, we looked at an independent research project looking at teaching math to ESL students. When you're doing this research, I would suggest going for research and other opportunities like it that bring together the interests that you have. So, for example, the woman who does neuroscience and women's health, she might, rather than doing MS and language learning, she might want to do something that brings together her study, her two passions. Maybe the neurological effects of certain kinds of abuse that women may face that might not be exactly physical, right? There are other kinds of abuse, unfortunately. So she might identify that. For example, the math student learning Portuguese might focus on Portuguese speakers learning English in the US. You know, students from Portugal or Brazil or Cape Verde or something like that. So when you're putting yours together, look for ways to combine the interests into one idea. Um, I'm going to keep going here, but when you're doing this, I do recommend working with an adult who can help you think in these big ways so that you get the furthest down the line you can and you're thinking about the kind of degree that you want. So the last section of a WISE essay is about campus life, extracurriculars. And it's the same exact exercise. You're probably getting ahead of me already. You research on the school's website what are some extracurriculars that are similar to ones you do now. So again, when it comes to the courses, the special research opportunity, and extracurriculars, you're always connecting it to your transcript and your resume. So you want to be choosing things that you have evidence of already doing. And that's very, very important for top tier schools. They really look to these off transcript resume elements that provide the evidence of the interest and college level capacity. When it comes to extracurriculars, um, it's okay to have some fun. It's okay to do something that's new. Don't necessarily have to do something that's exactly like you're doing in your resume. For example, the math student wanted to branch off into Portuguese. She was already learning Spanish. She wanted to branch off into Portuguese. So that was something new. That's also okay. A business student might look for business clubs. Let's say they're Chinese. They could look for the Chinese American Club. Maybe they were already running one in their high school, and perhaps an investment group that is run by students that could build on their experience with investing already. This neuroscience and women's health student could be looking for a women's shelter to volunteer at, maybe the Women in Medicine Club at her school. And for personal enjoyment, the university band, maybe the student has some strong music experience on her resume or transcript. And of course, this math student, we already looked at her. She'll be looking for tutoring opportunities and that feminist club. So the last step is articulating questions. So you heard me talk about this one already. And again, I am plowing through a lot of content here. It's because I really do want to get through as much of the elements of the application as we can so that you can be equipped to dive in and knock this stuff out, and also to leave some room for you guys to ask questions. So that's why I'm doing it this quickly. Again, you can always watch the recording to catch up. So you want to be, again, looking to articulate some questions that the school's offerings will answer. And the reason you do this is so that you can show the school, I am already thinking about this subject matter in a deeper way. I'm already thinking into my major and possibly my career. I come with questions and I'm already finding places to get the answers. Because essentially what you're doing is applying to be a student. And what are students? People with questions who go on a hunt to answer them. That's essentially what a student is, right? So when you articulate questions in the essay, you show them that you are indeed that kind of person. So questions a business student could ask: how does taxing the top 1% impact economic growth? How can businesses and local impact orgs partner and learn from each other? The neuroscience student: how can Western ethical frameworks inform medical research? How could domestic violence prevention work connect with my neuroscience studies? Questions that link your interests, that link the disciplines in your application are really, really important to articulate in the YS. Because again, it shows that you have this unique educational path and you're thinking through something that is a little bit higher level. in the world of academia, they call it interdisciplinary thinking. It's very, very, very common in research universities or liberal arts universities or colleges. And I highly recommend showing this to schools in the YS essay. And you can really do that in the questions you ask. And then, of course, this math student, we looked at already what teaching strategies have I yet to explore? How can I relate mathematics to better reach aha moments? All right, so then you want to connect all these things to your resume. So again, I am somewhat repetitive here, and I am going kind of quick, but I think you're getting the hang of it. So here is a breakdown of how the business student might connect all the elements they've identified from the school with their resume. And this is actually mapped from a real student I helped who's now at the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley on a full scholarship. So he identified the history of capitalism as a course, and he connected that to a business course he did at a summer camp. He identified horizontal leadership as a course and connected that to an internship he did at a company called Cisco in the Bay Area. He also loved the ideas of impact investing, which he was exposed to at a Georgetown business course he took one summer. So again, he names these courses, he articulates questions he wants to answer in these courses, and he links them all to things he's already done. For a fellowship in emerging markets, he'll reference an internship at an investment firm. And then for the extracurriculars, a business leaders club. He was president of his high school business club, the Chinese American club at the college. He was an intern at the local organization of Chinese Americans. And then social investing group. He has plans for a social impact restaurant and has had some experience also in investment that he talks about. So we're going to look at how he does this in his essay. I'm not going to read the whole thing. The Umish-Ross essay, again, is a huge word count here, so we're not going to read the whole thing out loud together, but just to give you the flavor, let's take a look at what this student Miles did. So the first two paragraphs are kind of like a potted history or a summary of the student's extracurriculars and exploration of business before the student gets into why UMich and UMich-Ross. Ross is the business school of UMichigan, if you don't know. You got into that school too. So he says, I'll just read some of this to you so you get the flavor. In middle school, I scoured the news to learn how events across, what does it say here? Across the world affected businesses that I used. How did the Paris Accords affect my favorite stock, Amazon? Did American dissatisfaction with globalization and automation hand Donald Trump the presidency? This curiosity led me to take business-focused camps, and he lists them some here. My eagerness to go beyond the traditional ABC views of business, accounting, banking, and consulting took me to Georgetown's Global Business Academy. So you can see he starts out with some cool questions that drove his interest early on, and his interest in business early on. And then he jumps into the latest thing he's done on his own to study business, which is this course at Georgetown. My professor, Greg O'Connor, illuminated the power of renewable energies to lift millions out of poverty in emerging markets. I looked at the intersection of business and social justice, which could benefit the lives of millions, if not billions of people. So he articulates here with this extra word count in a room in his essay, a personal kind of awakening around the power of business to make an impact, not just make him money, which is, you know, what everyone thinks in the background when they're applying to business school, right? But he had a really strong why, personal why that he articulates there. Okay. So then he goes on to get into the nitty-gritty details of his plans at Ross. And he uses this computer, building a computer as a metaphor. As a Ross BBA student, I will dive deeper into this intersection in the same way I approach building a computer. Every subject matter, like every part, interconnects, building on one another. I want to connect dots between business, global politics, and societal trends. In business government relations, I will seek to build on my internship at Anchor Capital with Anton Key, CEO, where he shared his thoughts on how fiscal policy, both in San Francisco and nationwide, would affect his property management firm in 10 years. This forced it to predict and, more importantly, plan around the cause and effect of policy particularly interested me. It got me wondering how proposed taxes on the top 1% would impact the overall economy in the future. Furthermore, how will government fiscal policy related to the pandemic affect government debt? So you can see he's thinking out loud for the reader through his deeper questions in his niche subject matter. He's not just naming a course, and he's not just connecting it to something he has on his resume. He's actually articulating like thoughts and questions he wants to bring to the university. And he goes on and on like this in his Michigan Ross essay. And he did really great in his admissions process. He got into pretty much everywhere. So just to break his essay down for you again, it connects the school offerings to resume elements and questions. So the government, business government relations builds on his internship at this place called Anchor Capital. Business and impact and business strategies for the base of the pyramid build on his work at the Chinese American organization, working with nonprofits and local communities, community leaders. He identifies what he's going to do beyond academics. He does a great job of looking at what is the Asian American Club at UMichigan, talking about that in detail, working with the school's local impact through business project, which is called the Detroit Neighborhood Entrepreneurs Project. So he researched that and had things to say about it, and connecting that with his own visions that he was developing at Georgetown. And like the other student, he uses a metaphor to communicate a philosophy of learning, building a computer. Again, this is a little extra icing on the cake, not required for a strong YS essay, but students who have the time to find one to lightly weave everything together to create an image for their approach to learning, I highly recommend finding a philosophy of learning metaphor, but not required, extra bonus. Okay, so that's everything I want to say about the super YS essay. I just want to repeat here that this essay can be such a pain to write and rewrite from zero. So it's really important to write a good one. And then when you switch to the next school that asks for a YS essay, you simply take away everything that was specific to the previous school and then replace it with almost the same thing you can find at the next school. So let's say Miles takes this essay for UMich and he wants to use it for the Cornell School of Business, the Dyson School, or for Georgetown and their business school. He will take out all of the courses from the UMich catalog and the research opportunities and the extracurriculars, and then look on the websites of these other schools, let's say Georgetown, and he will replace those elements with almost the same thing he finds at those schools. Because those schools are going to have courses like business government relations. Georgetown's going to have a course just like that. They might not call it that. They might call it public-private courses. And when it comes to the business strategies to the base of the pyramid, the economies of the lower middle classes. That could be the name of that course at Georgetown. So he doesn't need to replace any of the questions he's articulated. He doesn't need to replace the resume elements he's articulated. He only needs to replace the names of the courses and the research opportunities and the clubs. That's all he has to do. And you can save yourself hours and hours and hours of writing when you use this approach. You can literally cut it down by half. All the time that you need is for the research, to research the elements at the schools. All right, so That's all I want to say about the YS essay. The next section that in the Common App that I really want to stress is a somewhat mysterious section that many people leave out. They might not know about this section. It's not required. It is, there's no real instructions for it. It's just an empty space where one could put whatever they would like. It's 650 words. Well, there's two sections of it. There's a community disruption section and a general section. So what would you want to do with this section, if anything? Again, these are not required. You don't have to use them. However, very competitive, strong applications use these sections very, very strategically. I'm going to give you right now some very key ways to use these sections to really boost your application, because these sections are in fact used very, very heavily in the admissions process when they are filled in. If they're left blank, they're not used at all. But if a student actually puts stuff into the section, it is the one section of the Common App that is always open for the reader. It is always open for the reader because they're checking this section for context for how to read the application. Was there a hardship? Was there a special extracurricular that didn't make it into the activities? So they keep this open when they're reading the main essay, when they're reading the transcripts. It's the one section that everybody has open for the entire process. So really important to use it. So the community disruption section was added after COVID and the upheaval from the 2020 riots or protests around George Floyd, and is now also a space for students to talk about any upheaval at their school from protests around the Gaza Israeli war. This is a section where you can list a hardship from COVID or community upheaval, political upheaval affecting your grades. This is not a place you would put any hardship or every hardship, but only ones that affected your grades, where a reader would be looking at your transcript and go, why is there a dip in grades in this one semester? So this is the space where you might give some context to that if the reason is there was a community disruption that affected lots of people. The next section is where you would put hardships that only impacted you. But just to give you an example, students might have in 2020 or 2021 grades where COVID had a big impact. Let's say there was a teacher who was sick and out for 2 months, or a parent was sick. And this affected the grades and you had to stay home and take care of the parent or stay away from classes, or there wasn't a class offered because a teacher was out. This is the space to put that. Most important when it comes to hardships is to detail what you did to make up for it. So in this example here, I put, my physics teacher was away for 2 months and I couldn't prepare for the AP exam. I took an online AP physics course that summer and will take the exam this year. So the problem and the remedy are in the entry. That's what's most important when you share hardships. There are some hardships that are so common to people that they're not worth putting, like online learning, struggles with quarantine. They really don't count because that was everybody. So readers know this. They don't need to be reminded of this. And they will also be reading 2020 grades, 2021 grades with a different pair of eyes than they will 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025 for anybody who might be here applying in 2025. Okay. The next section is a lot more open. This is a space where you can put personal hardships. So if there was a hardship in the family that affected your grades, you definitely want to explain it here. Again, name the hardship and what you did about it. Most important is the what you did about it, because that shows them who you are now and that you're college ready. And and that's the person they're admitting, right? Is the person after all of this. If you just tell them you had a hardship one year, they're gonna think, oh, well, that's that person from that year is who I'm admitting. And no, you don't want the story to end there. You want to take it all the way through the remedy that you've done. This section is also very useful for helping readers see your transcript through a certain lens, or really your whole application, I should say, through a certain lens. And that lens should be, I'll use the word should, or I recommend it be, the core theme or subject of your experience, the core theme or subject of your resume experience. It's a space in which you can zoom into in greater detail activities from the activities list that you didn't really get to like share the full experience of what that experience meant, what it meant for your learning, the milestones it presented for your development in your understanding of your area of interest in your subject. This space can be really instrumental in giving readers a very strong sense of your journey of learning, I call it, your journey of expertise, of gaining expertise. So what goes in here usually are independent research projects and their results, internships, jobs, volunteer positions that deeply impacted your understanding of the main area of interest for your application, and summer school programs also, like if you did a pre-college in the summer, maybe there was an experience there that deeply impacted your understanding of the core subject. So I will give some examples of what this looks like so that you have your minds around this, because maybe it seems a little vague what I'm saying. Before I do that, I just want to go into some do's and don'ts around how to use this space. So don't write in narrative prose. This isn't an essay. You're not writing an essay in this section. And I would not put creative work in here. Some students end up putting creative work in here. I would say for a certain type of school that could be cool, but it mostly to me is not the best way to go. But helping the school really see the mini expertise you're developing and to see your application through that lens, that's really important. I recommend writing in bulleted form because you're on borrowed time. This is not a required section. So I do recommend writing in bulleted form. If you don't write in bulleted form, and you do write in somewhat of a full sentence prose language, that's okay. In fact, the example I'm going to give you is a bit more like that. But when you do, brevity is your friend. We'll look at how to do that. As I said earlier, don't list hardships that are common, and don't list hardships without how you overcame them. So if they're common and you can't talk about how you overcame them, I wouldn't talk about them. And there's some nuance to this, so I'll say more later. You want to always include your remedy when listing a hardship. Do not copy and paste your resume here. So I did mention to write in bulleted form. That doesn't mean you paste a resume in here. A resume doesn't really actually help a school see you through a certain lens and see your journey of learning this thing that I'm proposing. So you can always upload a resume to the portfolio section of an application. I will talk about the portfolio as well in this webinar very briefly. You want to name a subject of expertise. So we'll look at an example in just a second. You want to give this a heading. You want to name that expertise. And then you want to give a clear journey of learning through some extracurriculars, like the best of from your resume that are within that subject. And you want to go beyond activities list details. You want to really like name major milestones in your learning, not just awards won and amount of money raised, although those are great to share too. Major aha moments, major critical mentoring that really changed your understanding. Also really great to name as, again, briefly in the entry for this section. I really recommend you not write this alone. Get an adult. This is a somewhat nuanced thing I'm proposing people do. I really recommend getting help, especially from somebody that knows the application, that knows this section, or at least knows essentially the challenge that I'm proposing here. You can always hire a professional coach like me. Subtle plug. So here's an example of very excellent, a really strong additional information section, or the first half of one. So she titles it Additional Details and Extracurriculars. So we know we're going back to what's already in the activities list, but you can see her entries here are much longer than the activities list. And look at the content. So she gives it all the name public health. So she's applying to be a public health major. Her first entry here is some research that she published. And so she writes here, I wanted to explore the benefits of household spices so I could encourage healthy habits in my local Black community. Under the guidance of graduate student mentors from Harvard and Duke, I spent 2 years developing and executing an experiment comparing the antibacterial properties of cinnamon, cumin, nutmeg, and ground white pepper to popular toothpaste brands. We incubated the toothbrushes in sterile water, then mixed the bacterial solution and plated it on agar plates with the spice. The experiment supported the idea that the cinnamon is a strong antibacterial, even in low additive amounts. So again, you have this journey of learning here that goes through. She tells you what she wanted to explore in the research, and then she tells you the findings at the end. But it's very readable and relatable. It's not exactly full of jargon that you might find in a science abstract. Now, a science research abstract is an important document that I also recommend you upload to a portfolio if you have the chance to do so. Some schools allow that. But in this section, this is a space to speak a little bit more like a normal person. And again, highlighting the big things one learned inside of or experienced inside of a entry or a resume element. The next one, American Red Cross. She was the president of this club for 4 years. She talks about, let's see if I can, she gets recognized for high participation rates. They spread disaster preparedness education in the community, which was really underprepared, and in where she lived in Decatur, Georgia. What else did she do? Fundraise for measles, MMR vaccines, created comfort kits for disaster relief, helped install smoke alarms in low-income homes, helped expand the Red Cross map so that more regions of the area that these low-income communities lived in were prepared for disaster, ambassador to blood donors. So anyway, these are very salient details when it comes to public health. You can read it and you think, wow, this person already is almost like a professional in public health. And then the next entry is about a nonprofit she founded to educate her community on diet called Diet Dialogue. And so on. And the rest of the entries in her additional info go on. But again, these are all about public health, and they're all about the things that she's developed, skills she's developed, things she's learned in that journey of learning, in that niche. There's also a space, I will say, you can put abstracts for research papers and other scientific research if you want. I do think that the portfolio is maybe the best place to upload things that have been published, so abstracts for research that's been published. I would actually upload that to the portfolio and not use the add info section. But this is a space for like fully cited works that you've done in school that are important. You could put the abstracts here too. Briefly about narrative supplements. So there's many other kinds of supplements. Narrative supplements are closer to the main college essay. And I have an exercise that I give to students to get topics for essays called the College Essay Starter. If you are interested in this document and this exercise, just shoot me a message. I'll send this to you so you can do this yourself. This is the best way I have found to generate a great list of supplement topics, not just the main essay. It's also really good for finding stories for interviews. All right, so before we get to questions, very briefly, some services I provide. So I give everybody who wants one a free consultation, a free 30 minutes with me. I could look at your YS essay, your super essay, your additional info section if you want. I could look at your college list. I can give you tips on the overall message of your application and even your main essay if you feel like what you want to ask is good in 30 minutes. I am, of course, available for one-on-one coaching. I have been doing college admissions for many, many years. And so I do have some room still in my season this year. If you're interested, you can reach out to me at the email on the screen you see there, justin@wellcollegeconsulting.com, to learn more about my programs. I help with anything and everything having to do with college admissions, from the list building to reviewing all of the essays to activity lists and resume review and interview prep. And if you are not writing your college application now, if you're a rising junior, I also help a lot with searching schools and building up extracurriculars like research opportunities so that by the time you do apply, you have that strong evidence I was talking about. I have plans and programs for every budget. And so with that in mind, I also have a promotion, 10% off packages for one more week. So until August 7th, if you're interested in signing up soon, you can take advantage of that promo. All right, so that's enough about that stuff. Now let's go into Q&A. So I'm now going to jump into the chat here and see what we have. Okay, so one attendee asks, what are some good things to highlight if you want to do marketing and entrepreneurship? I'm a dancer. What are some extracurriculars for colleges to continue joining a dance club? Is that not so important in admissions in the Y section? I would like to eventually own my own dance studio. So this student, for marketing and entrepreneurship, you want to highlight experience that you have doing that already. So that could be in the context of an internship you've done. That could even be in the context of a club you helped promote. So clubs often need some marketing skills. Entrepreneurship is a big umbrella term. It can include a lot of different kinds of stuff. It's not just business building. So anything has to do with business planning, budgeting, networking, community impact, that's all under the umbrella of entrepreneurship. Anybody in a DECA club does all that kind of stuff. So those are the kinds of things you'd want to look at. So clubs and then outside school experiences that exposed you to those two disciplines. You want to talk about those two things. You want to highlight those two things. In terms of extracurriculars, absolutely talk about dance. If dance really matters to you and it really shows in your transcript and in your resume, you absolutely ought to talk about joining the dance club at a school or a dance team. The schools really want to see that you have plans to be a part of the community. And so talking about extracurriculars like a club, a dance club is totally great. And you have this dream to open a dance studio. Totally name that too. That also shows schools that you are college ready, or at least ready to become professional. Let's see, is there anything else in here? Great, okay, I don't have any other questions right now. So if you want to reach out to me to ask your question, absolutely do it. You can see my email there, justin@wowcollegeconsulting.com. You can even text me at this number you see on the screen. I'm happy to answer questions there as well. And again, I give everybody a free 30. So if you want to sign up to work together one-on-one for 30 minutes, just email me and we'll set that up. So I think that is all for tonight. Again, we plowed through this material, and I thank you for your incredible focus and attention. Go out there, really show them that you are ready to be a part of these great school communities. You're very welcome, Vanessa. And help schools know that you really are a great match for them. I know you all can do it. All right, everybody, take care and see you out there.